Welcome to a Thursday night football preview edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Ian Cameron with you. We're doing things a little bit different this week. Obviously, throughout the NFL season, normally we'll be recording a full edition of the show, breaking down every game on the NFL slate from a betting perspective. However, my regular guest, Philip Nelson, is unavailable until Friday this week to record. So what I decided to do is, you know what, we'll record on Friday. We'll give you all the Sunday games and the Monday night game when we record the show Friday. And I figured I would just come on here for a little 5-minute video here right now to give you something for the Thursday night football game to get week 3 started between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And that is what we will do. So with that in mind, Thursday night football. It is week 3, and it is the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. We've got Buffalo 11.5-point home favorites in this game, 50.5 the total. AFC East rivalry. Look, it was a much better NFL week 2 for me than it was week 1. Week 1 wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It was kind of run of the mill. It was a very solid week 2, profitable week 2. And part of the profitable week 2 for me in the NFL was fading the Miami Dolphins last week. I was surprised that there was a lot of people that I respect, in fellow bettors, fellow handicappers, talking themselves into liking Miami last week in that game. Coming off the horrible game that they had, obviously, against the Indianapolis Colts. I think there were some people that just didn't think New England was really all that great. But I was convinced it was worse for the Miami Dolphins. And sure enough, the Miami Dolphins, off of that 33-8 loss on the road to the Indianapolis Colts, they really weren't much better, especially on defense. Offensively, they were better, but defensively, it was still not very good. For the Miami Dolphins. If you look at it, they couldn't stop the Colts. They couldn't stop the Patriots. The pass rush just hasn't been there for the Miami Dolphins. Quarterbacks have had time to throw the football. And if you're going to give time to Josh Allen tonight to throw the football, that becomes a major concern. They've got injuries in the secondary as well. Of course, Storm Duck still banged up. That's a concern. Teams have been able to throw on that Miami Dolphins secondary so far, whether it was Daniel Jones in week 1 or Drake May last week. And really the New England Patriots went up and down the field for a majority of that game. They racked up 332 passing yards, 333 total yards in that game. Drake May 230 through the air. He only had 4 incomplete passes last week. Drake May went 19 for 23 in that game against Miami last week. 230 through the air, 2 touchdowns. No interceptions. It's just a very, very tall order for this Miami Dolphins defense, which, had questions coming into the year. Now they're banged up in the secondary. There's not much of a pass rush so far from this Miami team as well. It's funny, they had that team meeting as well, just to make sure everyone was on the same page prior to the game last week against New England. Really didn't help, really didn't solve the problems. And it's almost got that feel like the Dolphins are expecting bad things to happen, and almost like expecting, the other shoe to drop, maybe in regards to Mike McDaniel, because we know the vultures are circling. If you watch that press conference with Mike McDaniel after the loss to New England, it's just the body language is just not good whatsoever. And like I said, it's a tough spot right now for Miami to be in, because I don't know if there's a single position group on this team that you can feel comfortable with. The offensive line's a mess. Defensively, there's no pass rush. They've been gouged on the ground. Teams have been able to throw the ball against this Miami team as well. Tua obviously has had interception issues, and they've had just a ton of penalties too. And, that's a reflection on the coaching staff. It's a reflection on the coaching, seeing, the penalties that this Miami team continues to commit on a weekly basis. And that hurts their chances as well. In winning these games and being competitive. So there's all kinds of issues right now, and it's a shame because, you look through this Miami team through the first couple weeks of the season, and yeah, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle did get more involved last week, and they did get, a solid performance from Devon Achane, the running back, who had certainly in the receiving game, he had 92 yards receiving, 30 yards rushing, something to keep an eye on tonight. The Buffalo Bills do have some key injuries on defense. We talked in week 1 about in the Baltimore game how there were some D-line injuries. The secondary had some concerns to it. Tonight, you're going to be without Ed Oliver again on the defensive line. Matt Milano, this poor bastard just can't stay healthy. He's a really good player, but it looks like the Matt Milano is going to be out tonight for the Buffalo Bills. So, there is a pathway to Miami possibly being able to have some success offensively. But I just don't know if I trust their lack of discipline, which has been evident. They've had so many penalties committed. They've obviously lacked getting to the quarterback, and that is a big problem against a quarterback the caliber of Josh Allen. Secondary's been ripped apart. The defense has been just giving up, big plays in bunches in both of the first two losses against the Colts and the Patriots. And then you look at series history between these two teams. Miami has had basically no success against Buffalo. Even in Miami, Buffalo has been able to go down there and win, but especially here in Buffalo, we have seen some truly ugly games for the Miami Dolphins, 56-26, 26-11, 32-29, 34, a couple close games, 34-31, 48-20. Last year, it was a close game in Buffalo, 30-27 for the Bills against the Miami Dolphins. But the bottom line is the one thing that's been pretty constant is Josh Allen and the offense moving the football, scoring their points against this Miami defense. Wouldn't shock me if that continues here tonight. The primary bet for me in this game is, it's Miami's very toxic. I don't want much to do with them from a point spread standpoint. That being said, it's a big number. It is 11. It's 11 and a half. It is a road team traveling on a short week, but usually, it's not nearly as bad a spot early in the season as it would be later in the season. But I don't trust Miami's defense at all. And as I often do, as you'll know on the CFL show and some other, games on the board, whether it's NFL, college football, CFL, where it's a larger favorite, a lot of times I'll gravitate and pivot to the team total. And that's exactly what I did here. I bet Bills team total over 30.5. I think that's the best way to bet Buffalo in this game, because I am a little bit concerned about the Milano absence. I'm a little bit concerned about Ed Oliver being out, although they didn't miss Ed Oliver last week. They played outstanding against the New York Jets. You could tell that was a Bills team that wasn't very happy with and pleased with their defensive showing against Baltimore, even though they had that miraculous comeback in week one to beat Baltimore. You could tell they didn't love obviously their defensive effort, and they played a lot better on defense, certainly against the run. Braylon Allen and Breece Hall didn't really have much to do with that game. Now, the Jets were trailing most of the game, so they had to abandon the run eventually, but early in that game, they couldn't get the ground game going, and Buffalo really tightened things up on defense, which was good to see after what happened against Baltimore. But they are without some, key guys tonight on the defensive side of the football. So maybe Tua Tagovailoa can get into a bit more of a rhythm. And the thing is, too, with Milano being out, who can cover, can drop back and cover in pass coverage, can obviously go up to the line of scrimmage and play against the run. That could open up some opportunities for Devon Achane. And Devon Achane's a very talented back. I know this Miami team has had all kinds of offensive line issues. This is, to me, a bottom 5, bottom 10 offensive line in the NFL. And all you have to do is look at the sacks that Tua has taken so far this year. The protection's been bad. The penalties they've taken, holding penalties, false start penalties. We've seen a ton of those from Miami in the first two games of the season. But Buffalo is a little bit weakened, a little bit depleted in the defensive line and linebacking core. Milano out, Oliver out, which means they could leave the door open here for Miami a little bit to be able to have a bit more offensive success, which leads me back to why I like Buffalo team total over, because this could be one of these games where I have very firm amount of confidence Buffalo can get 31 or more in this game. They scored 30 against the Jets. They scored 41 against Baltimore. They have consistently gotten 30s as far as points scored against the Miami Dolphins. In fact, you go back and look at the last 6 head-to-head meetings between these two teams. The Bills have scored 30-plus in 5 of the 6 games, 31-plus in 4 of the 6 games. So the Bills have had really no issues putting up points. I just don't know if there's anything Miami does well on defense to keep Josh Allen and that passing game in check. This could be a night where Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer, Khalil Shakir. A lot of those receivers, maybe after kind of a slow start in the first two games, get going. And I also think they can run the football against Miami because Miami has had issues stopping the ground game so far this year. We look back, obviously, with what we've seen from Jonathan Taylor, had some success running the ball against Miami in the first game. This feels like this could be one of those James Cook kind of games as far as him getting involved. I think if you're going to look player props, this could be an active night for both starting running backs. I could see James Cook being used quite a bit here in this game. Devon Achane, I think, is a really good prop target for Miami because of the pass rush that Buffalo has. I thought it was a good game for Joey Bosa last week. This is a guy that if he stays healthy, he's still a pretty damn good pass rusher in this league. And after a bit of a slow start against Baltimore, I thought he was much more impactful last week against the Jets. They got Gregory Rousseau. You still have a solid pass rush for Buffalo going up against a Miami offensive line that has not protected Tua well, but got Tua almost killed last year, if you remember, when they played this Buffalo Bills team. And again, all the issues with the O-line and not only protection, but the penalties, the false start, the holding penalties they're having. This means Devon Achane probably is going to become that safety blanket, that outlet valve, if you will, for Tua Tagovailoa. So receiving yards for Devon Achane makes sense. Hell, he had 92 receiving yards last week against New England. And you got to think, those little dump-off passes to Devon Achane could be something that the Miami Dolphins go to early and often here tonight in this game. So I think this could be a good player prop game for both of the backs, Achane and Cook, for their respective teams. Like I said, I like Shakir and Palmer, especially, to have bigger impact as far as the passing game from Josh Allen. So their receiving yards props I looked at. I think there's good value with a couple of these Bills. The Bills receivers, we're still waiting for them to have that big monster game. And this could be the right team at the right time, and certainly the right defense for that to happen. And you can get the likes of Khalil Shakir for Buffalo plus 240 to score a touchdown tonight. You can get Joshua Palmer pretty much plus 300 at many books to get a touchdown tonight. And Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, at plus 300. I think those are all worth a bet, worth a sprinkle of some kind in a game where I think a lot of the passing game elements for the Buffalo Bills are going to be more involved. So that's my look at Thursday Night Football. It's you're getting a lot of points, and I know there's going to be people that make the case for the value with Miami, backs against the wall, but 0-2 on the road. And, they showed last week again against New England. The effort was solid, and they only lost by 3. But at the end of the day, just too many mistakes, or they lost by 6, I should say, 33-27, but too many mistakes, too many penalties, bad defense. And now going on the road on a short week, Buffalo has owned them. It's a lot of points to be laying in a spot like this. But I do think Buffalo has offensive success, and that's why I'm not interested in laying 11.5 with Buffalo, but I do like the team total option for going toward the Buffalo side here in this game. So their team total now, I don't know if there's many 30.5s left. I mean, because when I bet the team total, it was yesterday. We've seen let me see if I can recommend some book. Let's see who's got 30. Bet365 still has 30.5. PointsBet, Caesars. There are a few books still with 30.5. Some books have moved to 31.5. DraftKings, FanDuel, and 31's a key number. So if at all possible, shop around for 30.5 if you can. I think there's a chance they can get 35 for sure. But like I said, if you can get it below 31, even better. But yeah, that was the primary bet here. Bills team total over 30.5 for me in this game. Full game total probably would lean over a little bit, 50.5. I don't know how much. Miami's offense is a hard handicap in this game. It did look a little bit better against New England last week, but the offensive line is still a big problem in that, on the road in a loud environment on a Thursday night. Is that offensive line going to be able to hold up long enough for Tua to be able to find Waddle and Hill down the field and hold up long enough for them to be able to move that football gradually down the field? I'm not so sure. I like Buffalo to get their points. Will Miami score enough to help get the game over the total? I would still lean to the over 50.5, which is where that total is. I'll probably end up betting it for a small amount pre-game, but primarily I'm on Buffalo team total over 30.5 here in this game. There you have it. I said I would only go 5 minutes, and sure enough, I went 15. But You know how I get sometimes when I start talking. But there you have it. That's my Thursday night football preview. Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, the complete Week 3 edition, will be posted on Friday, late Friday. It'll be probably late Friday afternoon when I post it on the YouTube channel. Once again, Philip Nelson, former college and pro quarterback, will join me, and we will break down the rest of the NFL Week 3 card, all the Sunday games, and including a really good Monday nighter coming up between the Detroit Lions and Baltimore Ravens. That's a very, very intriguing Monday night football game. So we will have previews of each and every NFL game on the board for Sunday and for Monday night coming up tomorrow when I upload the Week 3 NFL edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. So with that in mind, thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy Thursday night football, Dolphins, Bills, and good luck with your wagers. And we'll see you on Friday for the NFL Week 3 edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy.